Oh, yeah. The NFL draft and rookies. Hell yeah.
Podcast off the rails already.
But there is not a chance in hell Justin Fields is finishing in the top 10.
There you know what, Mikey? Shut it.
He wants
Why
it.
not?
You don't want the smoke.
He's Calvin Johnson. He's Calvin
Oh,
Johnson.
good.
Oh,
God.
my
Yes,
God.
yes, yes, and yes.
What are we going to do with you?
It just, it adds a little extra flavor to the podcast.
I think you're disrespecting David Njoku.
Thank God
Yeah.
for Joe Flacco. That's all I can say. I'll help the owners. Don't draft Kadarius Toney.
I have to give the people what they want. I mean, come on. I'm going to milk it. I'm going to milk it for all it's worth.
I'll give you something to milk.
Let's rock and roll.
All right, it's the MHA podcast part 2. As we had to redo this whole thing from the first time, but glad we're back on here. Of course, myself leading the way on the podcast, Mikey Renaud, Todd Diamond, and we have a special guest with us here today, Joe Vaccarelli, having a great season. Joe, how we doing?
I'm good, guys. How are you?
Oh, just tremendous. There's the late applause. But so good to have Joe here. That's man, oh man, fantasy football week 9 recap. That's what we're doing on this show today. Mikey, Todd, how we doing?
Hey, I got to win. My team's got a pulse. It's awesome. Yankees still lost the World Series, but my team's got a pulse.
We're bringing the Yankees into this?
It's like a week
Well,
old.
I guess if we're talking about losers, I'm here, the Yankees are here. I guess we have that in common.
Oof.
Yeah. There you go. But my team's got a pulse. It's got a pulse. 0.65
neat.
pulse. 0.65.
Mikey, how we doing?
We're doing great. I just continue
Speaking of
to.
a pulse, do you still have yours after? I mean, we'll get to your matchup, but you were on edge during this week.
I was. It was great because it was like, all right, I feel like I'm going to have it. And then that game went into overtime, and then I was biting nails.
Yeah, we'll talk about that for sure. We'll also talk about Joe and his team this season. Of course, we got some news, some MHA trivia. We'll talk about next week's schedule as well. But before we get to any of it, let's just let's talk to Joe first. We'll talk about Joe. He's Killed Cord Drought if you're not familiar. Joe, this season, I would say you've had a pretty good season here so far. Just give me some quick thoughts on your team. Just looking over at the standings right now. Joe Vaccarelli, Mr. Kilgore Trout here in third place. Boy, that LaDainian Tomlinson division, 1, 2, and 3 all sitting in the same division. You're 7-2. You got a pretty decent point total there. How are we feeling about our team so far?
I'm feeling pretty good. I've gotten probably I don't feel like I have any super studs, but I feel like I have a solid team overall. Garrett Wilson's come on after kind of a slow start. Joe Burrow's kind of been boom or bust, but coming off a boom week at least. Getting Cooper Kupp back from injury, he had a big week. Tony Pollard's kind of been a surprise, solid running back too, and getting some good production out of Chuba Hubbard.
A lot of good production.
Yeah.
Hubbard. Oh man. I was going to say, you have a couple of cool surprises on your team with both Hubbard and Pollard. I mean, you felt pretty good about Pollard coming in, but man, Hubbard, talk about a guy he's had a couple of 3 20-point games already. I don't know if you've seen any Panther games, but what's it been like running with him this year?
Yeah, it was kind of a surprise to even have to roll with him, but I've had some injuries with Kupp and T. Higgins out a lot, so it's been kind of necessary to start. And, after, the first couple weeks he was doing well, now he's just kind of a mainstay in the lineup. It's hard to get him out of there. We'll see what happens if Jonathan Brooks comes back this week and how that affects things. But
yeah, I saw that, and I was wondering if he had. I try to pay attention. I work a lot of Sundays. I didn't know if Brooks was in the lineup yet, but he still hasn't been in yet. Okay, so that's interesting to know. What's it been like with Joe Burrow this year? I mean, I know Mikey was telling me he faced him when he had a 60-point game, but he's also had a 73-point game this year, so he's been holding his own compared to some other quarterbacks.
yeah, I mean, he had he had a 66-point week, I think, this week, or
Yes, 66. I was there for that. Yeah.
yeah, that was good. Yeah, he's had that week. I think he had the 73-point week against Mikey, and other than that, he's been kind of consistent, like in the low 40s. So he's kind of either. I mean, he's got a good floor at least, and his ceiling is really high. So yeah, pretty happy with that so far. Not really having to worry about which quarterback to start, especially with Caleb Williams kind of trending down.
Yeah, and I think with Joe Burrow too, he's been relatively healthy. He's dealt with injuries the last couple of years, so I guess when he's healthy and maybe that slow start because a lot of teams don't play in the preseason anymore, so you have those preseason weeks early on. But it looks like him and the rest of those Bengals are doing pretty well. At this point of the season, after week 9, sometimes you get that feeling like this could be the year. Do you have that feeling running through your veins about this particular squad? You've been in the championship the last 2 years. Are we feeling good about it? Like that good about your team?
I really want to get one of those top 2 seeds. I know it's tough with Mikey and Matt up there above me, but it's going to be kind of a dogfight to get that bye. I think if you have that bye, then you only got to win one game to get in the Super Bowl, and then anything can happen. But I'm definitely feeling like this is a playoff team, and we'll see. Just get in the playoffs and take your chances and see how it goes.
All right. Well, we'll talk about Joe's matchup here. Well, I don't know if I call it a matchup as it was a slaughtering, but we'll get there in a minute. Let's get to some news before we move on.
I don't understand what the news is. It's just like, hey, here's a bunch of you can't fix that happened that was horrible.
We'll go through these fairly quickly. Yesterday was the NFL trading deadline, so a few fantasy relevant trades to talk about. The Steelers acquire former Jets wide receiver and a 2025 fifth round pick for Mike Williams. Mikey, does Mike Williams matter now with the Steelers?
Oh, well, he matters more than he did with the Jets, but that's more of like a wait and see kind of move.
Yeah.
I mean, there could be some value, but I mean, I didn't see anybody rushing to go pick him up.
All right. Carolina, here's probably less fantasy relevant. Jonathan Mingo was traded over to, was that the Steelers too? I have Steelers written down. Is that correct?
Dallas.
Thank you very much. I didn't think that was correct. So now with the Cowboys, he couldn't even see the field with the Panthers. So I don't know if this is a last ditch effort for Dallas, or I don't know what this move says, but I don't think anybody's going to go pick up Jonathan Mingo either. Mikey, you can tell me if this is fantasy relevant. Bengals received Khalil Herbert from the Bears for a 7th round pick. Of course, that we saw, and this kind of moseys on the next piece of news in terms of Zach Moss is expected to miss the rest of the season due to a neck injury. So Khalil Herbert, fantasy relevant? Yes? No? Some of your thoughts?
It could be. Like, honestly, when Zach Moss got, they were playing both him and Chase Brown. Now they've shifted Chase Brown into that number 1 role. I have to think that they made that trade and that Herbert's going to have some sort of role. I mean, he's been relevant in the past.
Yeah, I feel like Herbert's had some good games, some bad games, and Chase Brown has looked really good. I know that's one of Mikey's preseason picks, and we'll see how he kind of fits in the whole scenario of everything. I mentioned Zach Moss. Hot Tamales quarterback Dak Prescott slated to miss at least the next 4 to 6 weeks because of a hamstring issue. I guess it's a pretty serious hamstring where the hamstring coming off the bone. That does not sound like fun at all. Mikey, any concerns for your team, or do you feel good with Kirk Cousins back there?
I feel good with Kirk Cousins. I mean, him and Dak have essentially been the same guy over the course of the season. So this way I don't have to pick between the two. I'll just roll with Kirk, and then I made a pickup of Jameis Winston because Cousins has a bye week. Yep.
Jameis could be in the starting lineup. That's interesting. Gonzo Cats, they could have CMC for the first time this year. We'll see. He's been limited in practice, so we'll see if that comes to fruition. The first overall pick this season. Buddy Kilgore Trout here. T. Higgins, man, oh man, just can't stay healthy. Quadriceps, doubtful to play Thursday night, but don't worry. Joe's got a fine depth-filled team over there, but doesn't even need T. Higgins. Notorious CUP. CeeDee Lamb dealing with a shoulder injury. He was limited in practice. And Michael Pittman for Lion Rip, dealing with a finger and a back issue. Those were the major ones. Of course, it's Wednesday night. Usually we do our podcast Tuesday night. There's a lot more information, but I didn't want to go through everything in terms of that. So any other major ones that I missed, guys?
Well, you missed that Chris Olave got his head blasted off.
Man, what has he done outside of that anyway? Nothing. Wasting my gosh darn time.
might be an early candidate for a bust of the year.
Really?
Sorry.
Do you really need to go that far?
No.
All right. Well, good old Chris Olave. I mean, that just burns my hide to see that happen. I'm sitting there getting ready for a soccer game. My rotten broadcast students are just the worst. Then I get the text message from Mikey. I mean, I just put in Chris Olave. I've been wrestling between Bucky Irving and Tank Bigsby. And then I was like, well, Chris Olave, and so I was like, I'm going to do it. He did well. And then it's like, what is this? 11:15 after the game starts. And Mikey sends that message like, guess who's out of the game? It's like, F you, Mikey. And then it's just downhill from there. Actually, it started downhill from when good old Garrett Wilson had that big day on Thursday, but we'll get to that. Let's go. All right, so we got the news in. Before we get to the recap, let's do some MHA trivia.
Time to play the game. Time to play the game.
All right. So, Joe, you want to play MHA trivia with us?
Yeah, of course.
Awesome. Okay, so Derrick Henry ran for his 100th and 101st rushing touchdown, making him the 10th running back to reach 100 or more rushing touchdowns. So let's look at the all-time rushing leaders in terms of touchdowns. Whoever gets to 4 points first wins MHA trivia. So outside of Derrick Henry, I'm looking for these 100 touchdown career leaders via the rushing category.
All right.
Everybody down? Everybody get it?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
All right. We're going to let Joe go first because he's a special guest here. Joe, guess away.
I'll go with Emmitt Smith.
Emmitt Smith. He seems familiar. Let's see. Very good. He's actually number 1, Joe. Stud. He's good at everything. Drives me bananas. All right. Todd, you're next.
Marcus Allen.
Marcus Allen. That is correct. Marcus Allen. So Emmitt Smith, 164 touchdowns. And Marcus Allen's third with 123. So that puts it 1-1 to Mikey now. What you got, Miguel?
I'm going to go with Adrian Peterson.
Adrian Peterson. Very good. He is 4th all time with 120. You guys are going down the list here. We're still missing number 2. Back to Joe Vaccarelli.
Walter Payton.
Walter Payton. He was pretty good in his day. And you are correct. 110. He's 5th on the all-time list. Over to you, Todd Diamond.
LaDainian Tomlinson.
He is number 2 on the list with 145. You guys are killing it right now. Over to you, Miguel. What do you got?
Okay, I'll go with Jerome Bettis.
Jerome Bettis. Are you sure? No, you were incorrect. He did not have 100. He did have 91. He's tied for 12. That is close. Very close. Back to you, Joe Vac.
Let's Sean Alexander.
Sean Alexander. Right at 100. Well done, sir. He's got 3 points. Todd, you need a big right answer here.
I'll go Barry Sanders.
Barry Sanders. He's pretty good in his day, too. Unfortunately, he had 99.
Oh.
Just one short. Back to you, Mikey.
Man, I'm trying to think of somebody that played that long.
Yeah, you have some older guys on here.
Oh, dang it. I know the one. Damn it. Should have said
I know he played long. It's probably wrong, but I'll go Curtis Martin.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna
Oh, how dare you throw his name on this podcast? How dare you? He had 90. That's not a bad guess. He played a long time. I'm surprised he had that many touchdowns, honestly. All right, Joe, for the win, do you have a guess?
How about Jim Brown?
Ooh,
Jim Brown. Todd like that one.
that's a good one.
That's a great one. And that's 106 touchdowns there for Jim Brown. So well done. You win MHA trivia. You come on the show. Everything's going right for Joe. He destroyed me here in this week, and then he wins MHA trivia. Amazing. So Emmitt Smith, 164. LaDainian Tomlinson, 145. Marcus Allen, 123. Adrian Peterson, 120. Walter Payton, 110. Jim Brown, 106. John Riggins, 104. We mentioned Derrick Henry, who's now in the top 10 in terms of reaching 100. And how about Marshall Faulk? Forgot about Marshall Faulk. How could you
What
guys forget
about
Marshall?
where I was gonna guess Thurman Thomas?
Well, we went through it, so it's not
But I-
Thurman Thomas. But
Well, I'm saying where. I don't know. But I say how
he
many?
is- Thurman Thomas is not even in the top 20 that's
Well, they
listed here in terms of rushing touchdown leaders.
Well, they threw the ball a lot anyway in that offense anyway in the 90s anyway. So I was not surprised. Probably shouldn't have been surprised.
Oh,
he won.
right. Yeah, well, there you go.
Okay.
Thurman Thomas information today. I love it. Better than Curtis Martin. Week 9 recap. Let's get into it. Well, we had a few close games that went down to the wire, but that did not happen between myself and Kilgore Trout. The top scoring team in week 9 was Kilgore Trout, who scored a whopping 178 points in a 76-point beatdown of the Lemonheads. Garrett Wilson started things off right for Joe's squad, scoring 2 TDs on Thursday night. Then Joe Burrow scored 5 touchdowns on his way to 66 points. And we mentioned Chuba Hubbard had 2 rushing touchdowns versus the Saints for 21 points. And the Lemonheads just stink. 10 combined points between the flex, kicker, and defense. Not much else to say for those Lemonheads who fall to 3-6. Kilgore Trout improves to 7-2 and sit in 3rd place. Oh, man, that must be just a nice feeling, Joe, you start off great, and then you're just piling up touchdowns throughout the Sunday. Oh, man, I wish I was in that day. I wish I was in your place right now. Must feel good.
It was good. I mean, it was a good start Thursday night, and then Joe Burrow early going off, getting those 5 touchdowns. I mean, that's a nice cushion to build there. And then you having Olave go out and having Goff have to play in the rain. It was kind of it just wasn't set up right for you, man. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's okay. I'll feel sorry for myself later. Actually, what are we on Wednesday? I don't have time. We got to get ready for the next week. Oh, man, I'm in trouble. The Gonzo Cats, they also fall to 3-6 after falling to Cooper's Cousins 150-121. Pollen got 53 big points from Josh Allen and back-to-back solid weeks from Devontae Smith, but got disappointing days from Zach Charbonnet, who could only muster up 4 points, while Kyle Pitts had a Kyle Pitts type of day, managing just 1 catch. Devin Achane scored a season-high 29 points for Dylan's squad. Bijan Robinson caught 7 passes for 18 points, while Geno Smith piled up 49 points. The 150 points was a season high for Cooper's Cousins, who improved to 6-3. In a battle of 4-4 teams, Eaton W's comes away with a big win, defeating Lion Rip 148-105. Bengal running back Chase Brown went absolutely crazy against the Raiders against the Raiders defense, rushing for 120 yards and also catching 5 balls, scoring a touchdown towards 24 points. Joe Mixon has put together 4 straight amazing weeks, including 16 points this week, and Matt Stafford scored 46. Lion Rip had 5 players with 4 points or less, including 1 point from Puka Nacua, who apparently left early after punching a guy. Did anybody see this? Was this like a legit punch, or was it just kind of more arms in the air flailing type of thing?
Combination. I think a combination of it wasn't like a full extension punch, but it was enough where they're like, yeah, you're done.
So was it warranted? Should he have been thrown out?
Yes, because it was enough of a punch where the refs were like, yeah, you're done.
All right, Puka Nacua throwing some punches. Let's see. Michael Pittman didn't show up, at least even with Joe Flacco behind center. And Mark Andrews, take that, Aaron. He caught 2 measly passes. Kevin's team is now 5-4. Aaron's squad 4-5. How about we get to those tight matchups? Let's start with the top team in the MHA, the notorious CUP. They got a combined 52 points from his wide wide receiver. Well, that is tough to say. Wide receiver trio of Terry McLaurin, CeeDee Lamb, and Zay Flowers. The Ravens wide receiver had 23 points of his own. The NWA started week 9 off right as Devontae Adams had his best week as a Jet, recording 17 points. Austin Eckler had his best game as a Commander. The former Chargers scored 15 points. And Taysom Hill showing up. 4 receptions for a touchdown, 13 points. The NWA had a 139 to 87 point lead heading into the Sunday night game, but CUP's starting quarterback Sam Darnold overcame a sloppy first half to score 53 points and edge the NWA 140 to 139. CUP improves to 8-1. The NWA falls to 4-5. Another close battle came between the Butterfingers and the Chad Powers fan club. Alvin Kamara, ladies and gentlemen, he once again came ready to play, dismantling the Panthers on the ground for 155 rush yards and 6 receptions. Darnell Mooney in the starting lineup for the Butterfingers this time, and it pays off, 15 points. On the other side, James Conner was able to reach the century mark and for 14 points for Miles' team. And Justin Herbert was able to reach 41 points, but this one came down to Monday night. Todd's squad had Bucks kicker Chase McLaughlin, and Chad Powers had Kareem Hunt and Chiefs kicker Butthole Butker. Hunt was able to reach 100 rush yards, while the kickers had 7 points each. This game goes into overtime. Of course, Hunt scores the walk-off touchdown, but since it was a walk-off, there is no extra point, and the Butterfingers walk away by the slimmest of margins, 120.77 to 120.12. Butterfingers now at 3-6 in 9th place. Chad Powers falls to 3-6 in 11th place. Todd, holy cow. Do you know what I hear, buddy, on this Wednesday?
Yeah. The decimals. Yeah. I mean, granted, if we didn't have the decimals, I probably would have lost. But thank God for decimals now at this point, because 0.65, gave my team a pulse. So it was not a win where we're dominated. I mean, it helped that AJ Brown got hurt and so forth. But again, if I don't make the playoffs or whatever, lose the rest of the way, I'm just gonna pat myself on the back that I was right about Kamara, that he he's a candidate for MVP in this league. But team's got a pull, so saying goes, you gotta get that one win, and hopefully it sparks the fire and I can maybe continue. But I'll just go with the reverse psychology that my team still kind of sucks, and we'll see if that works, and maybe I keep going a little bit of run like I did last year. But again, I say it before, I'll say it again. Having Christian McCaffrey at full strength last year does checks a lot of boxes. I don't have him. I'm gonna ask
you a serious question. I want you to tell me the truth.
Okay.
I want the truth.
Okay.
When Kareem Hunt scored, did you know you were still okay? Or did you think, oh no, I just lost? Did you have the math done before it happened? We know how good you are at math.
Yeah. Yeah, my college transcripts can attest to that. No, I thought when Kareem Hunt scored that touchdown, I thought I was going to lose. I really thought I was going to lose. I was like, oh, come on. I was like, but then obviously realized, well, I mean, they weren't going to kick an extra point. I was like, oh, thank God. But yeah, I thought I was going to lose. I thought I was like, oh, come on. But here's the thing too, to be honest and for real, seriously, I didn't feel as comfortable going into the Monday night game, because I mean, if it was just kickers versus kickers, okay, I'd probably like, maybe I got this in the bag. But Kareem Hunt, I mean, they got this guy off his couch, I mean, for God's sake. So Kareem Hunt of old. But I thought when he scored that touchdown, I was like, oh God. Just can't win, but
no, you did win. What are you talking about?
I did win, but I'm saying
you did win.
but before it tallied up the points, I thought, I was like, when he scored that touchdown, I was like, because I was thinking,
Mikey,
I was like,
when does the stat change thing happen in our league? Is it over tonight until tomorrow?
Yes, it does.
All right, Todd, keep an eye on that tomorrow morning in case some sort of catch or yard changes and you do lose. So then you can say you just can't win. And finally, the Hot Tamales and the Belt Sanders, they also came down to the final drive of Week 9. We'll start with the Tamales. Man, that running back duo of Derrick Henry and Saquon Barkley. Mikey must love it. I feel we have mentioned those two so many times this season. They combined for 55 points. That's about as much as I had total this week. 4 touchdowns between them. For Allen's team, they got a great week from a running back as well, Ramondre Stevenson. He rushed for a touchdown and caught a touchdown for 20 points. Allen finally hit on Tyler Lockett, who reached double figures for the first time in 4 weeks. The Tamales were up 128-68 heading into the Kansas City-Tampa game, and a lot of players in play. DeAndre Hopkins for Mikey. He'll tell you about why he put him in that game. And Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, and Xavier Worthy for the Belt Sanders. We mentioned last week on the show that Mahomes could have one of his best games of the season against a putrid Buccaneers defense. And, of course, it's prime time, and we always know he gets up for that. And, boy, did he. 64 points, 34 completions, and 3 touchdowns. But luckily for the Tamales, 2 of those went to DeAndre Hopkins, who went on to have his best day of 2024, 24 points. And Travis Kelce, he caught a career-high 14 catches for 17 points. I don't know if anybody knows this. I saw this somewhere. But those 14 catches are either tied or broke the Monday night record for catches in a game. I don't know how that works, 14 catches and 17 points, but all right. And despite the matchup between the Tamales and the Belt Sanders, that went into overtime. Oh, okay. And so despite all of that, the matchup between the Tamales and the Belt Sanders went into overtime, and of course the Chiefs got to start first. Mahomes able to rack up completions in that drive and got the Chiefs all the way inside the 5. A Mahomes passing touchdown to anyone but Hopkins would give Allen the upset victory. But as we mentioned it, Kareem Hunt, he ran it in, and the Tamales escaped by a total of 4.65 points. Well done, Miguel. Give me some of your thoughts on this matchup this week. He does it again. How does he keep getting away with it?
I feel fortunate. Like, I must have switched between Hopkins and Jaden Reed at least 3 times about an hour prior to kickoff of those games on Sunday.
Goodness.
You know, Jaden Reed's been good, and like Hopkins hasn't done anything, but knowing that Kansas City was playing Tampa, I was just like, well, from a strategic standpoint, if Mahomes goes off like I think he's going to, then it's more advantageous for me to have Hopkins in there. And Jaden Reed did okay. You know, he was in double digits, but yeah, I mean, without Hopkins, I don't win that. And I feel like I got lucky a couple times because in that overtime, they had gotten it down to like the 2-yard line before that Hunt run. And it was just like inches short of a first down. Had it been a first down, they might have thrown that ball. And so, yeah, I escaped.
You almost feel bad for Allen. He in the last couple of weeks, he's had his highest point total, and he still can't find a win just because he ends up facing the wrong team. I mean, that's fantasy football, but
no, that's not why. The reason why is the same reason when we had our draft recap show, and we said,
"All right,
who the hell drafts Miles Sanders? Where you drafted him?
Yeah.
Who drafts him at all?" And see, he's paying for it.
Yes, he is. Miles Sanders. I mean, but he had 9 points against the Broncos last week, so he was bound to have a good game. Miles Sanders, Xavier Worthy ended up with -10 rushing yards and -1 point. So we'll talk about those duds here in a second. But Mikey, I'm going to ask you the same question I asked Joe. Do you feel like you have a team that can win it all here at 7-2?
I do. The quarterback situation's a little funny, but I essentially have that 2-headed monster at running back is just nuts. Like,
yeah, no kidding.
That gives me a chance in, a game against anybody, even against Joe. I felt like my team played well that week and he just had the record-setting performance. And so, yeah, I mean, you never know what happens in the playoffs, but I feel like I've got as good a shot as anybody else.
All right. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, Mikey, Mike, you bucked the trend, with, getting, doing with running backs than compared to wide receivers. I mean, Derrick Henry and Saquon Barkley are just playing out of their minds, and so forth. So it's, in previous years, 2 top flight wide receivers, you would say would get it done more because, we're in a passing league and more. But I mean, kudos to you. I mean, Derrick Henry and Saquon Barkley, they're just playing on a different level, both of them. So if they, I mean, and two, it's gonna help you too. The fact that both, the Eagles and Baltimore have to keep on playing all the way through and through because they want to get they want to get a top seed or something like that. So that's going to help you in the long run too. So you won't have to worry about if they're going to rest them or whatever, everything like that. No, if Baltimore wants to get that number one seed, they're gonna have to keep playing them all the way through. So you hit the jackpot with that part of it, and the Eagles, because the Eagles are up and down sometimes too, even if they win. So they're gonna have to keep playing Saquon Barkley. So that's just the luck of the draw too.
Not to continue to heap praise on Mikey, but
yeah, let's end this.
On top of that, I mean, just finding the value with the receivers that he's found, like with Neighbors, getting him like where he got him, he looks like a stud, even though he wasn't drafted in the top 3 rounds. Jaden Reed's been kind of boomer bust, but still his boom weeks are huge. And then waking up early and grabbing Hopkins.
That was total luck. Absolutely total luck. I think I was up for 2 minutes when that thing popped up.
Well, I think it's part of the game. I've said it a lot that's a big part of the game because I feel like I saw you pick him up. I was on my phone before I went to work, and I was like, "Why did he pick up Hopkins? That seems odd." And then all of a sudden, I see the news. I'm like, "Dag nabbit!" So, because obviously no one's Juju Smith-Schuster or whatever the hell's going on over there with him, but. Yeah, no, Mikey is drafted really well. He finally used David Montgomery this week. So and he again had double figures. Although I saw J.K. Dobbins at 23 on the bench, but Mikey's got depth too. So if an injury takes place, we already talked about his quarterback being out for a while. He also has Kirk Cousins. So championship team, that's how it's built. Got to be ready.
Of the week.
What's
Dobbins. That could have been a dough of the week, leaving Dobbins on the bench.
Speaking of dough of the week, thanks, Joe. Nice little segue there. Mikey, I only saw really one. Of course, when you lose by a single point, you can kind of point to anybody, but the one that kind of stood out to me, and you can tell me more because you guys watched a little bit more football this year than I have, but, using Rachaad White versus Kansas City instead of Javonte Williams versus Baltimore, 11.7 points to 8.3 for the Broncos running back. Is that the one that you saw as well?
Yep, that was the only one that I saw.
Yeah, so
there wasn't really much else out there.
There wasn't. In the last couple of weeks, it seems like people kind of been on it a little bit and have had the right players in. And it just kind of proves, especially like under a point for Todd. But even then, on that side of things, I really didn't see too much. So I think just unfortunate there for Mr. Chad Powers fan club. Miles, you're going to get dough of the week.
No.
And now that means it's time for the studs.
The cream of the crop. Nobody does it better.
Joe, you want to throw someone out there? Some of the biggest stars of week 9?
Well, the guy we're just talking about, DeAndre Hopkins.
Golly, no kidding.
2 touchdowns, 24 points. Mikey needed all of them. I think that's a good spot.
I think it's a great spot. I think it's someone that's going to help you win the week. I think that's how things are going well. Mikey's going back and forth. I went back and forth. It didn't work out for me. It worked out for Mikey here this week. DeAndre Hopkins, who previously, I think his previous high was 15 points, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, 15.65. But then Tampa Bay's defense, pretty bad. But there's a lot of options for Kansas City, and everybody really benefited. We saw Travis Kelce have his great day too. So well done, Miguel. Well, I'm sure we'll say that a couple more times here. Todd, you want to give me a stud?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Chase Brown of the Bengals. 24 points for him. Obviously, Zach Moss going down, so that kind of opened the door for Brown to move into that number one running back role. Like I say, all-purpose type back. Run between the tackles, can catch it. I mean, obviously the matchup. This tomorrow they play Baltimore. Probably, I don't know if he's going to get 24 points against that Baltimore defense, but Chase Brown. That was, and I know Mikey was high on him too. And was high on him, and I thought he was a little bit of a sleeper too, as well. But Chase Brown, has been, kind of, if they just keep him in that role, then, that's good on him.
120 rushing yards. That's a season high for Chase Brown, who last time against Baltimore, 16 points. Now, he only had 46 yards rushing, but had 3 receptions for a touchdown. But he's had double figures in 5 of his last 6 games. He's really broken out here. We'll see if Khalil Herbert kind of dips into his production, but it seems like he's the number one guy. So nice to have there. How about you, Miguel? Give me another stud from week 9.
I mean, I'm gonna go with Garrett Wilson. Like, I'm
man.
sure there was, maybe a little bit of worry when Devontae Adams got traded over there, but that maybe he would be, the second target. But I actually think that's a good thing in Garrett Wilson's case, because he has the talent to be like an elite receiver, and now he doesn't have to face the top corner, every single week. So, big time targets. He had 2 catches, one incredible one.
He was out of bounds.
He was not out of bounds.
That bothered me some. I had soccer that night, and I get home and like, let me turn on the game. As soon as I turn on the game, they're doing the slow motion. I was like, oh, whose knee is that? Oh, son of a gun. And that's when I texted Joe. But, remember when we were concerned, and Joe, you could tell us, we were concerned about Garrett Wilson. Like, he had less than 10 in 3 of his first 4 games, but then since then, he's reeled off double figures, and what is that, 6 of his last 7. So you didn't trade him. You hung on tight, and now he is pulling off some big-time point totals for you.
Yeah, no, he did not get off to a good start. Didn't build that rapport with Rodgers right away. Then he was kind of just getting a ton of targets and surviving that way. And then they trade for Devontae Adams, and you think that might go away. But now it seems like maybe it hasn't hurt him, at least. So he's been looking good. Maybe it opens things up for him a little bit more, but while Adams and Rodgers get their mojo back. But we'll see what happens. But yeah, definitely liking what I see so far out of
that. Stud. I'm gonna go. Let's go with Joe Burrow. We talked about him a little bit already. Garrett Wilson, by the way, 2nd overall wide receiver in terms of points by Jamar Chase. Just a matter of time before he got going. Joe Burrow, 3rd amongst quarterbacks here this season. 212 completions. He's got 20 touchdowns and just 4 picks. This dude also has 117 yards rushing. He's not really known for his rushing, and he has a rushing touchdown on top of that. But, Joe Burrow had a great matchup, took full advantage. They scored 41 points. The second time he's reached 5 touchdowns in a game this season. Bothers me to no end, as I had him last year and he didn't do diddly. But good for Joe. Good for Joe Burrow. Good for Joe Vaccarelli. Works out in tandem. Big time. It's another stud from you, Joe. Do you have another one?
Yeah, sure. And I'll say, I think Joe Burrow, I think most of those rushing yards were on one run.
Oh, was it?
I think it was a Monday night game against the Giants. I think he ran for like 50 yards or something.
Yeah, 55. And I don't know if he scored off of that, but he had a rushing touchdown that day.
Yeah, he did. I'll go with Todd's MVP, Alvin Kamara. Interesting stat line, 24 points without scoring a touchdown.
That is bananas. 2nd in the league in total points amongst running backs, even more than Saquon Barkley. I laughed at Todd and scolded him for picking Kamara, and he's 2nd. He's got 46 receptions. Does that lead all running backs? Yes, it does. 367 yards receiving, a touchdown, but it's also been his rushing. That's kind of been down for him in the last couple of years. He's gotten those completions. He's scored some touchdowns, but he's got 660 rush yards, and so that's pretty solid. He's on his way to 1,000. So Alvin Kamara, yeah, good for him. So Todd, you got another stud for me?
Well, I was going to say Kamara just to pat myself on the back, but
you love to do that.
I do. It's
there's other teams in the league you can choose from.
I know, of course, but I mean, who? I'm gonna go with Hopkins.
Hopkins was already picked.
Okay, then we'll go with Derrick Henry. It's like Derrick Henry is automatic every single week for one or two touchdowns every game, rush for 100 yards. I mean, just with ease, and so forth. I mean, if anything, I mean, if in reality purposes, that's your MVP right there. That's your MVP in reality purposes there, and even maybe a good shot for for fantasy MVP as well. So, but Derrick Henry, we're in a league now where, you got to be able to catch the ball and, and everything like that besides just rushing. But Derrick Henry seems like I'll just rush for 100 yards and score 2 touchdowns. So Mikey got it right, which is pains me to say that again, but yes, Mikey's right.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games with 20 or more points, and he has a 35-point game. He's got 1,000 yards rushing already in 9 games, hasn't seen his bye yet, and already has 11 touchdowns. Like that's a stat line for a full season for some folks.
Yeah,
not for Derrick Henry. Mikey, Todd.
I was gonna say I don't think he rushes for 2,000 yards, but
I don't think anybody asked.
Okay.
Mikey, stud.
Yeah, I mean, let's stick with me since,
let's just keep talking about how great Mikey is. This is amazing.
I mean, this is Saquon Barkley's 3rd time he's had over 30 points. Like over 150 rush yards, 2 rushing touchdowns, and a play where he, jumped backwards over a player. I mean, it's just flat out.
You don't get any points for that, do you?
Style points.
Style points. You know what that made me think of? I knew I'd seen it somewhere and it hit me last night. It just reminded me of that scene in the first Matrix movie where Trinity kind of jumps over someone that way too.
Yeah.
Am I the only one? Matrix. Joe, have you seen The Matrix? You've seen Dodgeball. I'm just so bitter right now. All right, let's get into some duds.
This is the worst. You are the worst. I hate looking at your face. I want to smash it.
What do you got for me, Joe?
I'm going to David Collins' team and Kyle Pitts.
Yeah, back to normal.
Catch, 11 yards.
To life.
A 2 touchdown game. Yeah, that's pretty bad. But yeah, I think a lot of people are done with Pitts this year. I don't blame him.
Can you? I mean, the tight ends stink this year. Can he give up on him?
I don't know. What else is out there? Probably not much.
Probably not much. He's also dealing with a hamstring. Everybody's dealing with a hamstring issue these days. Yeah. So he might have to give up on him. He plays New Orleans, so I don't know if that's an option or not. Mikey, you give me a dud this time.
All right, we talked about how great Hopkins was. How about on the opposite end of that, how bad Xavier Worthy was?
-1.
Yeah, -1. He didn't have a catch, and he probably would have had a touchdown if he was paying attention in the first quarter and would have kept his feet down. So, yeah, I mean, that was...
And you would have lost.
I would have lost. Just awful. Like, when it's not even a goose egg. It's just when you end up with negative points, if you hit the dud.
Get the dud. Mikey, how about... Oh, I'm sorry. Todd, how about you?
All right, we're going to go with just Jamar Chase. Only 9 points.
That's not terrible.
Jamar Chase is a top flight wide receiver. You draft him in the first, 9 points. No, you got to at least have double digits from your, from your first round pick. No,
I guess he lost by less than a point. Then fine.
Yeah, I mean Tucker Kraft, but that's tight end. All tight ends suck this year, so that's not a that wouldn't be a dud of duds. That would just be like, oh, okay, tight end sucks this year, so. That's just I went with Jamar Chase.
Jamar Chase. I can dig it.
Okay. Dig it. All right.
I would just pick Puka because he threw himself out of a game. It wouldn't have helped Aaron much if he would have had even if he had a 20, 30, almost 40-point game. But you can't punch anybody. People need you, man. Come on. Step your game up. Trying to win some games, and Aaron's struggling right now. Who else? You got anybody else? My list is not long for duds today.
I feel like this needs to be mentioned, and even though it was on a winning team, but this week was the now 5th week where Marvin Harrison Jr. has had, under 5 points. And so
What's going on with him? You guys were super high on him. What's going on?
Well,
Talk to me.
It's rookie wide receivers, like you
Oh,
say.
no. Uh-uh.
Okay.
I ain't going to let you use rookie wide receiver. Should be going in the middle of the second round, maybe at the end of the first round on that turn. Blah, 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 blah. That ain't going to salvage it.
I was just gonna say, going through a little bit of a slump. That's all.
So should you be drafting rookie wide receivers that early if they're going to go through their rookie slumps? Huh?
Yes, because I think
no. Is he going to finish as a top 10 wide receiver as everybody was predicting?
Probably not.
Oh, I see.
Well, I'm probably going to lose that board bet, okay? I think we probably made a board bet about that. I think that Marvin Harrison would well, I don't think we said top 10. I have to go back and listen, but I think I was like top 15 or something. But okay, I was wrong, okay? I'm wrong, okay? Wrong. wrong. God's wrong. What a shocker.
Should we be concerned about, we kind of talked about Waddle last week with Tyreek Hill. I mean, he's had 9 and 8, but early first round NWA needs him to step up big, and someone else who lost by just a couple less than a point. I mean, even with Tua back, I mean, Devin Achan's done well. Talk about a stud who had 29 points this week, but I don't know what's going on with all that. It seems like it's Devin Achan and was it Mike Gesicki? Is he the tight end over there?
No,
that's in Cincinnati.
Oh, so who is the tight end? Because he was doing really well.
Scotty Smith.
There you go. Thank you, sir. Let's see. This is why I'm losing a fantasy football right. I don't even know who's the tight end for who these days. But yeah, that's just something else I noticed too. That I'd be a little upset with 8 points for my first round pick.
Yeah, 1 touchdown, and that was the first week.
First week. All right.
Well, let's pull over for speeding again.
There you better than punching a dude, I guess. Week 10 matchups. The matchup of the week. Check this matchup out. First place Notorious CUP taking on number 2 Hot Tamales. Big time. Kilgore Trout, 7-2, third place. They're going to battle fourth place, 6-3 Cooper's Cousins. Wow, some big time matchups. Fifth place, Eaton W's will face off against 10th place Lemonheads. Fun, but I definitely need that game. Might as well face someone that's above me in the standings here. 6th place NWA and 8th place Gonzo Cats. They'll go toe to toe. And 7th place 4 and 5 Lion Rip will take on 3 and 6 Butterfingers, who sit at 9th place, and 11th place Chad Powers Fan Club battling 12th place Belt Sanders. Have you guys looked at your matchups yet, Joe? Have you looked at it? Have you seen your opponent? Do you know what week 10 looks like for you?
Yeah, I've seen it. Right now, Dylan still needs a quarterback. He's got both his guys on bye, so he's going to have to grab someone. So right now, I'm the heavy favorite, but, he'll grab someone that's going to be projected for 35 to 40 points, so that'll narrow that gap significantly.
Should you start picking up quarterbacks so he can't have them?
No.
You're not that type of player, huh?
Got Jameis Winston, so that already thinned the field a little bit. He's got Bijan Robinson and Devon Achane, so that's quite the backfield. Hopefully Marvin Harrison will continue to struggle, and DJ Moore as well. So we'll hopefully be all right there, but we'll see. You never know. Those 2 running backs could go off and make it tough.
Or Chuba Hubbard will have 50 points once again.
That would be great.
But Burrow, Baltimore.
Yeah, it's the Thursday night game. You always got to worry about that. But yeah, I think that as far as the matchup goes, that's a tasty matchup on paper.
73 points against Baltimore last time. Delicious. I hate you, Joe. No, I'm kidding. I really like you a lot. Mikey, how about you? Notorious CUP, the top team. Let's see. If you beat them, do you take over? Do you have more points than them, right? So you would take over number 1?
I always have the most points. You should know that by now.
Yeah.
Hate this league.
Hate it. I hate it.
It's a great opportunity. I was so, irritated when Quayne pulled out that win on Sunday night, because then I would have been in first place. But now I have an opportunity to do it on my own by beating him. And
all I hear is first world problems. That's all I hear.
It's
pretty much.
It's interesting, neither one of us, me with the quarterback, him with his running backs, are going to be like completely at full strength this week, but I think it'll still be a really good matchup. you know.
Did you just say Rico Dowdell? He's at full strength. Oh, you
No,
said he
I
won't.
said
be
he
at full
won't
strength.
be.
Okay, I was gonna say Dowdell out there.
No, because
Yikes.
he's been using Madison and
Yeah, Kenny Walker.
Kenny Walker. Both are on bye, and so he won't have either one of those guys.
Well, sounds like another good week for Mikey. That's all I see. Another good week. Todd, you said you have a pulse. How are you feeling about your matchup?
Well,
Aaron on the docket. How well do you do against Aaron? Does Aaron own you like he does me?
No, he doesn't.
Oh, snap.
I
Fantasy
think
football gods might be in play here.
I think me and Aaron it's pretty neck and neck. I mean at least in the in the title game he owns me. Freaking Nick Foles can go suck it. But I mean obviously I got Justin Jefferson. They got Jacksonville, lovely, and I just gotta hope. Jalen Hurts is playing the Cow. Oh, geez, he could put up 60 on against the Cowboys. Lovely. So we'll see. We'll see what I got a pulse. That's all I can hope for. I got a pulse, and I gotta just see if I can maybe get the beats per second just a little bit more, and maybe get another win. So we'll see what happens. You never know. You never know.
You never know. I don't feel good about my team at all.
Okay.
It stinks. It's not good.
Well, I'm surprised that Puka Nacua is not suspended though for punching
That
somebody.
was his first offense. I mean, did it happen? It happened at the beginning of the game and the end of the game?
Like the middle of the game, I think.
Because sometimes if they do it at the end of the game, maybe they suspend you for the next one. But if they get you earlier, then they kind of don't. I don't know what the official rule is. I don't have the rule book in front of me. Anyway, fantasy football. We're heading into week 10. Joe, thanks for coming on. Continue to have a great season. Go beat those tamales. Shut him up a little bit. But we appreciate you coming on.
Record on him, so
yeah, that's right.
I don't think we play again this year unless it's in the playoffs. So.
Yep, that's probably where it's going to be.
Nice juicy little matchup there. That'll be fun.
That'd be fun.
Fun stuff. Well, Joe, you're always welcome to come on. Anytime you beat me by 76, you're welcome to talk about it. Thanks for coming on. Todd, Mikey, the usual suspects here on MHA Podcast. I'm Eric Lansing. We'll see you next week.